Hello everyone, Mege here. So yesterday, supposedly, the details of the upcoming Warden Rework were leaked on Reddit. The user who revealed this information said he got it from a friend of his, which he obviously cannot name. So let me make 2 points right away. First, we have no real confirmation this is real, this is true or accurate. Of course, that is how leaks works. At the same time, I have a feel this is something Ubisoft would do with the hero. They always try to keep the hero's identity true while, improving on that. My second point is that the user who leaked this information, not the Reddit poster but his friend, actually broke the NDA agreement with Ubisoft, and that is very, very bad. So, just in case you don't know, an NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. It is a contract you sign in this context between you and the developers that actually forbids you from sharing or actually even talking about anything they're showing you, and that is under NDA. So, while we may be happy because yay, we get to see the new stuff earlier, we have to keep in mind that breaking NDA is a pretty big deal as it undermines the trust the developers have for the community. The developers do this sort of NDA tests because they want to give us the best content possible when it's release time, so they work together with the top players to actually iron out all the bugs and whatever for the new content, be it maps, new heroes or reworks. And someone breaking this NDA agreement means that next time the developers might be hesitant to have an NDA test at all, or maybe they will do it but will keep some stuff from themselves because they really want that stuff to, have that hype surprise moment when it's actually released. Because of course, leaks do spoil the fun, sort of ruin the hype, the surprise of new stuff coming out. Remember how back in March pretty much we basically knew all the DLC heroes that would come out during the year, and that made those reveals much less entertaining, of course. But since Pandora's box is open, I decided to make a video about this, as many of you asked me what I think of this supposed rework both on Reddit and my Discord server. Hopefully you don't think I'm hypocritical by saying that I don't want stuff like this leaked, at the same time making a video about this, but this is huge now, everyone is talking about it everywhere and we can't really swipe it under the rug anymore. So let's start now, and the first change we see detailed is that zone attack can now be chained into an heavy. This will make sense later on because the new Warden Rework identity seemed to be based around heavy finishers a lot, especially top heavy. So having another way to actually go into a chained heavy is a very good deal for Warden. Crushing Counter-Strike no longer guarantees a shoulder bash, but you can still link into it, and they follow up with you can get your second top light guaranteed after a successful Crushing Counter-Strike. So this is a slight nerf to Crushing Counter-Strike, and it makes sense because we will be getting, as we'll see later, an unblockable top heavy, making baiting Crushing Counter-Strike much more easy. We do still get a top light after it for a total, if I'm correct, of 55 damage, which is still very, very respectable. So something that I forgot to mention is that this information, these patch notes, let's say, have been translated, so of course the wording, as you can probably see yourself, is sort of weird and not really official. Let's also keep in mind that even if this is real, this is probably still very early into development and will likely and almost definitely change to some degree when it's actually released live. Moving on to the next section, the shoulder bash section, we see that it now links from forward dash at 100 milliseconds instead of the live 300 milliseconds, meaning shoulder bash is basically faster. Do keep in mind that without real context, it is pretty hard to understand what some of these changes even are. There is no developer's comment to go along with them, no video, so we might be interpreting some of this completely wrong. So we see here that charge time for maximum charge is 1000 milliseconds, down from 1200. So basically, both versions of shoulder bash have been sped up by 200 milliseconds. The maximum charge is at 300 milliseconds, down from 400. Now, as of the live version, I would think this change means that you cannot feint shoulder bash anymore a little earlier than before. Like once you hold down for the charged bash, you cannot feint it anymore in the live version, and of course this means that you go into the charge like 100 milliseconds earlier. However, the following change, which says can be cancelled, like shoulder bash, can be cancelled into a feint at any point before the movement starts. So what does this mean? If I read this correctly, it means that you can charge shoulder bash then wait until, I don't know, until you actually leave the ground, actually dash forward, and any time before you do that, you can cancel shoulder bash. Now, first of all, this doesn't seem to make much sense to me, because if you can actually cancel it any time until you actually leave the ground, what's the point of differentiating between the various level of charge during the charge itself? Secondly, this seems very bad, very toxic for the game if I'm reading it correctly, because it feels like it's going to be day 1 Warden all over again. So you shoulder bash, the opponent dodges, you can react to that dodge, so it's not even a read, and guard break them. I don't think that's something that should be in the game, but as I said earlier, we might be interpreting this and seeing this completely wrong. You have a up to 100 milliseconds after release the guard break button in order to feint it. Now, I really don't understand this one. I think it's not even correct in English. I guess it could mean it sort of specifies the timings you have to go into shoulder bash by releasing the guard break button. I'm not sure. And lastly, we see that Warden has a new forward dash attack. The attack itself is 400 milliseconds and can be started at least 200 milliseconds into the dodge. Now, this information is sort of redundant since this dash attack is also detailed later into these patch notes, let's say. Maybe this is because this is work in progress and they're trying different numbers, or maybe this is just all fake and I'm wasting my time. So let's move on to the heavy finishers. We see that the top heavy finisher is now unblockable. It's at 1100 milliseconds, which is 200 milliseconds lower than the live version, deals the same 40 damage and has a stamina cost of 6. Some people think this bracket stamina cost might be like a decrease in stamina cost and increase in stamina cost. I'm pretty sure this is the actual stamina cost. And while it may seem stupidly low, I think this is done to incentivize chained heavies more. I mean, if they gave us a zone attack heavy chain, that's half your stamina for the zone attack, some more stamina for the heavy, which you may want to feint, you're basically out of stamina. And that's why I think this very low stamina cost makes perfect sense. Side heavy finishers now deal 40 damage as well, up from 30, and they also cost 6 stamina. Side lights are now 500 milliseconds, down from 600 milliseconds. Of course, this is great, 600 milliseconds attacks are way too slow and reactable. The second top light in a chain is now 400 milliseconds, and that is the reason we can chain from Crushing Counter-Strike into it. And, as I said earlier, the last thing these notes detail is the new dash attack. It's a forward dash heavy attack, costs 20 stamina and deals 20 damage. Seems a little low for an heavy, but it is a 500 milliseconds attack, which starts at 300 milliseconds into the dash. As I mentioned earlier, both of these numbers are a little different from the one given before. They are both 100 milliseconds lower. They also had that it always hits from the left and it can chain into an heavy finisher, which makes perfect sense because you might want to, catch that pesky assassin who's keeping his distance. You dash forward, if they don't parry or if you hit, you can anyway go into your top unblockable mix-up. Alright, that's it for the notes, but now I really want to hear what you guys think of this. Do you think this is total bullshit and completely fake? Do you think, if it is true, that these changes would be good for Warden, would be bad? Do let me know with a comment. I'm leaving you now to this 4v4 gameplay with Warden. Hope you have a good day and I will see you all next time.
captured Zone C. You captured Zone A. You lost Zone C. You lost Zone A. You captured Zone A. Defeat.